Right, beauties, welcome to another episode. First things first, if you're watching this or listening to this, you might hear some music in the background and maybe some weird grunting noises because Valta is working out upstairs right at the top of the house, but you can still hear everything. And also the dishwasher is on. So that's just what's happening today. Oh, and one more thing. If you are watching the video, you'll notice two things. One, this really cute balloon. Hold on, I'm backwards on this. Saying love you. How cute is that? When I got back from the UK last week, Valta had it in like a big box as a surprise, and I opened the box and the balloon flew up into the air. It was very cute. And the second thing is you'll notice that I'm downstairs and not in my usual office space, and that's because I'm waiting for a delivery, a very important delivery for a very special goddess, Callie, if you're listening, and I can't miss it because it's come all the way from Bali. So now I've got those out the way, let's get into the episode. Today's episode is called Intuitive Eating Alone Will Not Heal Your Relationship with Food. And I am specifically not an intuitive eating coach, and I'm going to share with you today why that is. First of all, I'm going to give you some really positive things and helpful things to learn how to eat intuitively and what it can do for you. Then I'm going to go into some of the pitfalls, but also I'm going to give you information, tips and advice on what to do so you're not stuck in those pitfalls of intuitive eating. All right, let's go then. So first things first, intuitive eating is a great tool to help you to heal your relationship with food and your body. However, if you only eat intuitively, it won't just magically, quote, fix everything. It won't just magically allow you to eat normally and feel amazing in your body, especially if you've been stuck in the diet binge cycle for many years. What intuitive eating does do, which is a huge benefit, is it encourages you to check in with yourself and then to listen to your own body's guidance to help you decide what, when, and how much to eat. The main benefits and the best thing about intuitive eating is it's our natural state. So, baby, you was born this way. I'm not going to sing Lady Gaga. I think it was Lady Gaga that said that. Baby, I was born this way, because I can't sing and you'll turn this video or podcast off. But seriously, as humans, which I'm presuming you are a human if you're reading this, or maybe a robot, we were all born intuitive eaters, all of us, meaning that if we could miraculously hit a reset button on ourselves, that would cause us to unlearn all of our conditioning, what we've been conditioned to believe about food and our bodies. We would revert effortlessly back to intuitive eating. Actually, we would revert back to intuitive living, which is the way to live, but that's going off on a little tangent. Let's stick to intuitive eating for now. Intuitive eating is 1,000,000 times better than following any diet plan, any meal plan, even from a qualified nutritionist such as myself, because our bodies are the most miraculous, wisest creatures in this whole universe, and scientists are still constantly discovering new things about our minds and our bodies. But the thing is, we've been conditioned to believe that we can't trust ourselves in everything, not just around food. We've learned that we must seek external validation, external approval for us to, quote, get it right. Whereas attaining knowledge, of course, and advice from trusted experts and peers, it's a necessary part of growing and a necessary part of learning, but that doesn't mean we are to abandon ourselves and our own inner knowing. Sorry, I just thought there was someone at the door, but it's not, it's the weights banging. And here, when I'm talking about self-trust, I'm actually talking about trust and intuition, not intellectual knowledge. There's a difference. It's like I don't intellectually know how to do brain surgery unless I go and learn brain surgery school, you know what I mean? But I can trust myself to make the right decision because I've learned how to tune in to myself and my feelings, and trust that whatever decision I make is going to be best for me. So when it comes to intuitive eating, what it does, it requires us to tune within, to connect to our bodies, to connect to our intuition, and then listen to the wisdom and the guidance that our bodies give us. And when intuitively eating, there's no meal plan to follow. There is zero food rules. You tune into yourself and just notice if you're hungry. And then if you are, you decide what it is that you want to eat. The key here, and I will be saying this a few times throughout this episode, but it's so key, is that there are no food rules. Every single food is available. There is no food off limits. Allowance of all foods without the good or bad labels. And this can take time and support to get there, but that's key. No food rules, full allowance, no good or bad foods. All right, so I'm going to move on to the hunger scale, because when practicing intuitive eating, a hunger scale is usually advised. And again, this is a great tool to practice using, especially if you've lived many years ignoring your body through dieting or binge eating, ignoring your body's hunger and fullness signals or hunger and fullness cues. And the hunger scale is used to help you to check in with yourself and your body. And then what you do is you mark yourself out of 10 with regards to where you are with the hunger and fullness feeling. So on the blog that I've written for this episode, there's an actual physical picture you can see. So go over there if you want to see it and practice using it. However, I'm going to describe it to you now. So I mark the hunger scale from 1 to 10. And 1 is hangry, like you wouldn't believe. Number 2 is low energy, feeling weak, and you're very hungry. Number 3 is you're pretty hungry, your stomach is starting to growl. Number 4 is you're feeling peckish, you could eat something. Number 5 is you're satisfied, you're neither full nor hungry, you just kind of feel satisfied at the moment. Number 6 is pleasantly full, and you can definitely feel like you've eaten something. Number 7 is slightly too full, cue unbuttoning the jeans. Number 8 is definitely shouldn't have eaten all of that, I'm really full. Number 9 is I'm extremely uncomfortable and I need to lie down because I'm so full. And number 10 is yeah, so I'm never going to eat again because I can't breathe. Like obviously some of those little joke comments in there. But basically number 10 is absolutely stuff, like I'm talking after Christmas Day. If you're in America, I've never experienced Thanksgiving, but I'm guessing it's like similar to after Thanksgiving. And number 1 is so fucking hungry, you just could kill anyone and eat anything. So practice using this if it appeals to you. I'm going to go into why it might not appeal to you in a moment. But what I tend to encourage my clients to do if they feel like they want to practice using this is aim to eat at around a 3 or a 4. So a 3, just to remind you again, is you're pretty hungry. Maybe your stomach is starting to growl or gurgle a little bit. Number 4 is you're feeling a little bit peckish and you could definitely eat something. And then I encourage clients to practice. Notice the language I'm using here. This is not a rule. This is just a guideline to practice stopping eating when you were around a 5 or a 6. So again, to remind you, number 5 is you're neither full or hungry. You just feel pleasantly satisfied. And number 6 is you feel pleasantly full and you can definitely feel like you've eaten something. However, I need to make it so clear to you that eating until you are at 7, 8, 9, or even 10 is absolutely okay, because this is not the hunger and fullness diet, which is why I'm not an intuitive eating coach. I'm going to go into that in a little more detail in a moment. But going back to the hunger scale, practicing using this tool as a guide, what it will do, it will help you tune into yourself. It's really helpful because what you're doing by using this tool is remembering the language of your body again. And notice that I've used the word remembering because you're not actually learning something new, although it can certainly feel like it. You were born an intuitive eater. So going into this new world, and it can feel completely new, even though you are just remembering it, it can feel exciting, but it can also be very scary at the same time, because if you've been dieting for many years, it's so common to have no freaking clue how to even tune into your body, and let alone know or acknowledge that you're hungry or full. So I'm going to go into that in more detail again in a moment. There's a lot to get through today, a lot of value for you. First and foremost, I think I've said first and foremost like 5 times, so it clearly isn't first and foremost, is it? But the next thing I wanted to talk about is a step-by-step guide for you to use so you can practice checking in with yourself with intuitive eating. So I encourage my clients to check in with themselves at least 3 times a day. And that's not only for hunger information, but that's actually to see how they are physically feeling within themselves, whether their body has something to tell them, or whether they are just simply dropping from their head and into their bodies. Because in this day and age, so many of us just live in our heads up here. We don't actually drop into our bodies and feel our bodies and actually experience living in our bodies. We're always up in our heads. So here's a step-by-step guide to use specifically for intuitive eating, so that you can practice checking in with yourself and learn how to respond to the information that you're given by your body. Again, this is in written form on my blog, but I'm going to go through it with you here as well. Number 1 is to stop what you're doing and be still for a moment. So if you're physically doing something, just get still within, like just quiet your thoughts down. That's number 1. Number 2 is, if you're able to, close your eyes. And if not, just get present with you and ask yourself, where am I on the hunger scale right now? Just practice checking in and asking yourself, what score would I give myself on the hunger scale right now? Number 3 is, based on the information that your body has given you, you can then decide if you would like to eat something or not. Let's say you decide that you do want to eat something. You could then ask yourself, what is it I really want to eat right now that is available for me to have? Because of course, if you check in with yourself and you really want to eat that amazing dish you had in Thailand last year, as a complete made-up example, obviously you can't have that exact thing. And if you're only in your kitchen and you can't be bothered or haven't got time to go to the shop, then you've only got available to eat what is in your kitchen or what's on speed dial on delivery, right? So ask yourself, what is it I want to eat with all the food that I have available to me now? And it's so key to ask yourself this question with full food allowance. No food is off limits, and there are no food rules. This is key. Again, I'm going to keep repeating this, because if you're checking in with yourself and being like, oh, what do I really want to eat? And then your body's like, hey girl, I want some biscuits. And you're like, absolutely not, because biscuits are bad and blah, 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 blah. That's restriction. So number 4, when your body has let you know what she wants to eat out of the choices you have available to you, go and get that. And then the last but not least, number 5, is to eat the food mindfully, enjoying every bite and stopping when you feel satisfied, knowing that there is more food available for you whenever you want it again. That's again key. It's coming from the word allowance. There is more food available for you whenever you want it. So use this step-by-step guide to practice checking in with yourself and your hunger. As I said, this is a very helpful tool to use and to practice when healing your relationship with food. But there are so freaking many intuitive eating mistakes that can cause more harm than good. So I'm going to go into these now, after I take some water. Where's my water? There it is. One sec. Sorry, podcast, you just listened to me drinking. All right, so common intuitive eating pitfalls then. The hunger and fullness diet, I've mentioned this just previously. Chronic dieters that have lived so long with food rules in their lives, when they turn to intuitive eating, what they tend to do is turn intuitive eating into the hunger and fullness diet. What I mean by that is if they eat when they're not hungry, or if they eat past fullness, they think they have failed at intuitive eating. And then what this does is it usually leads into a binge eating episode and the familiar thought patterns of, oh, I'll start intuitive eating again tomorrow, or even worse, okay, I must be stricter tomorrow because clearly I can't do intuitive eating well, and so I'm going to start another diet tomorrow. And we all know where that takes us. When practicing intuitive eating, remind yourself there are no food rules. If you want to eat a brownie purely to enjoy the taste of a brownie, that's okay. Even if you've checked in and you're not physically hungry, but you're like, do you know what? I just want to eat a freaking brownie. Go and eat the brownie, because any form of restriction causes an equal and opposite binge. If you eat past fullness purely because you either wasn't paying attention to your body and what you was eating, maybe you were distracted, or just because you didn't simply feel emotionally satisfied until you felt overfull, that's okay too. Because I know this sounds counterproductive, but the moment we make any of that not okay is when the diet brain takes over, the guilt and shame come flooding in, and we know where that takes us. So instead, flood yourself with compassion. It's really no big deal whatsoever if you ate past fullness or if you ate when you wasn't hungry. It can feel like a huge fucking deal because of the potential, not certain, the potential weight gain that may come from that. And that's the elephant in the room. And I'm going to save that till last, talking about weight gain or potential weight gain. It's like if you was driving a car, if you made, quote, a mistake when you were driving, you could probably actually die or cause yourself and others serious injury. When you make a, quote, mistake, and I say it in quotes because you can't make mistakes when you're eating, but when you make a, quote, mistake when eating, aka eat past fullness, eat when you're not hungry, then the worst case scenario is you're going to be very full. And the very worst case scenario is your body might store some of that as fat. That's it. No one's going to die. It's only what you make fat mean, which is the be all and end all, and the fear of what drives everything, diets, binge eating, everything. So I'm going to save that till last and go into it in a bit more detail. The second thing that can be seen as a pitfall in intuitive eating is the attachment to the numbers on the hunger scale. Being a past chronic dieter myself, I used to be obsessed with numbers, whether that be the number on the scale, the number on my FitnessPal, the number of sins, calories, points, macros, blah, you name it. I was obsessed with numbers. So what can happen if you're similar, if you've been chronic dieting for years, you can get very attached to the numbers on the hunger scale. For example, people who are attached to numbers may be eating, and whilst they're eating, they're obsessively thinking, okay, I must stop when I reach a 5 on the hunger scale. I cannot go past a 5 because then I've failed. But this is just another form of restriction that's creeping back in, and an attempt to get it right. But again, there's nothing to get right or wrong, which I know is really hard to grasp because we're so used to following rules and diets and plans and ticking all the boxes. There's nothing to get right or wrong. If you notice that you're doing this, if you notice that you are really kind of obsessing over the hunger scale and the numbers on it, which actually an amazing client of mine recently did that. I had a reframe for her that really, really helped. So I'm going to give it to you now. Instead of constantly asking yourself when you're eating, what number am I on the hunger scale? Ask yourself instead, have I had enough? Do I want any more? It's coming from a different energy. So it's coming from a place of abundance. Like, have you had enough? Do you want any more? Which is where the brain likes to take us into the restriction. So coming from the place of abundance, it stops the restrictive thoughts. And restriction, and again, always leads to an equal and opposite reaction, which is binge eating. So I'm going to give you some tips now on how to practice intuitive eating without falling into the pitfalls. And the first one I'm going to start with is connecting to your body. When you've spent many years ignoring your body's hunger and fullness cues, it can seem so difficult and very confusing. I know it used to feel very confusing for me to connect to your body again. And when I say again, you was born an intuitive eater, so you are coming back home to yourself. It can just feel like completely alien to begin with, though. So that's okay that you feel that way. You're not alone. But when you feel this kind of disconnection, don't panic, first and foremost. It will all come back to you, I promise. All you have to do is practice checking in with yourself at least 3 times a day. So then you can practice noticing what potential hunger may feel like to you. Hunger isn't only felt with a tummy growl. In fact, if your tummy is growling and making that empty noise, then it's most likely that you're very hungry, not just a little bit hungry. And you probably could have eaten a lot earlier than the way you've made yourself wait. Again, as chronic dieting, past chronic dieting, it's so easy to ignore your body and just wait to eat, but don't do that. Practice knowing what hunger feels like to you. Get curious, be your own personal detective, and just get curious and be like, hey, I wonder what it feels like when I actually feel a little bit peckish. And then practice feeling that way, noticing when you're feeling that way, and then eating and then seeing how that feels. There's nothing to get right or wrong. There's nothing to get right or wrong. And I'm going to keep saying that. It's getting to know yourself, getting to know your body, and everything will naturally fall into place, I promise you. Your self-trust in this moment in time may currently be at an all-time low, and especially because you've most likely, quote, failed at many diets, you've broke many promises to yourself around your eating behaviors and your body movement. So pour compassion into yourself always. Remind yourself it's not you, it's the diets, and then make a commitment to yourself from a place of love that you're going to start building up your inner self-trust and your inner confidence. And this is a promise you're going to make to yourself, a commitment you're going to make without promising yourself you'll stick to another diet or force yourself to go to the gym or promise yourself you are going to do intuitive eating, because it's not about a rule to follow. It's a new way of living. It's a new way of just coming back home to yourself. So a good thing to do is have an affirmation on repeat in your head, stuck to your mirrors on sticky notes all over the place on your phone. And this is a really good one to use if you're feeling disconnected from your body. And that is, I trust myself and my body's wisdom. Just practice saying that internally or out loud now. I trust myself and my body's wisdom. How does that feel for you when you say that? Just notice how that feels. Share with me if you get a lot of discomfort when you say that to yourself, and I'll give you some tips around that. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is meal hunger. If you would like some structure with intuitive eating to begin with, because I get it, it can be super scary and very weird to go from dieting and binging to just eating intuitively, because there's no rules. And sometimes we want rules, and I get that. So to transition away gradually, it's really helpful to start with, and again, these are not rules. This tool I'm going to give you now is to practice learning to trust your body. And also, more importantly, it helps your body start to trust you again. And I mean that in the way that you're going to feed her, you're going to listen to her, you're going to actually pay attention to her. And this tool is regular eating. So regular eating will provide your body with nourishment, with energy. It will keep your blood sugar stable. And it will also help you to start to get to know yourself and your body better. It will get you on the way to noticing what it feels like when you're starting to get hungry, when you're full, when you're satisfied, etc. So without making up any food rules, this is key again, without making up any food rules, feed yourself 3 balanced meals a day. And when I say balanced, I don't mean like a meal plan or anything like that. All I mean is I encourage you to have proteins, fats, carbs, and fiber with every meal. And then start to notice how you feel. You'll start to notice what foods feel good, what foods feel don't, what food, that That was a mumble jumble, wasn't it? You'll start to notice what foods feel good, what foods don't feel so good, when you're actually getting hungry ready for your next meal, when you feel satisfied, all of the things. An example of 3 balanced meals would be something like, for breakfast, and these are purely examples, this is not a meal plan in any way, shape or form, just to make that clear, it would look like a balanced breakfast, lunch and dinner would be, for example. Breakfast would be something like scrambled eggs and beans on wholemeal toast with mushrooms and wilted spinach for your veggies. Lunch could look like tuna mayo and sweet corn in a pita bread with salad, which is what I had today. Dinner could look like chicken, cheese, aubergine and courgette pasta bake with a side salad. And then snacks can be taken anytime you like. This is just a guide. Like I say, I've only given examples of actual food and meals to help those that have no idea where to start and who don't know what a balanced plate looks like. And I want to make it clear again, there are no rules when eating intuitively, but offering yourself 3 balanced meals a day and eating regularly can help you to begin with if you feel very disconnected from your body. Okay, again, I need some water. The next thing I want to briefly touch on is mindful eating. Mindful eating is something I absolutely love to do, and I encourage others to do the same. Not because it can lead to you eating less. It's actually been proven that mindful eating enables you to eat less. I don't care about that. And you may well do right now, but it's not about eating less or more. But because food is so goddamn delicious, why not enjoy every ounce of it? Again, mindful eating is not a rule. It's just something to practice. It's a guideline to practice whenever you remember. Janine Roth has, and this is actually a title of her book, and I actually love it. And she says, when you eat at the refrigerator, pull up a chair. Janine Roth. Mindful eating is basically paying attention to your food, what you're eating without any distractions. So this means no phone, no TV, no book, etc. It involves really paying attention to what you're eating, savoring every single bite of food and being fully present. So just try it again, practice it. It's really great. And actually eating mindfully enables your body to get more nutrients out of the food you're eating and digest it more efficiently. And you get more pleasure out of food. So why not try it? So just try it. Let me know how it goes. Okay, last but not least, let's address the elephant in the room, shall we? The word weight gain. The fear of potential weight gain is real, even though fear is actually a false experience appearing real as an acronym. Fear, false experience appearing real. It can feel very real, and it can be very paralyzing to think about it coming true. Honestly, I've been there. The thought of any weight gain would cause me to run in the opposite direction, and I would cling back to restrictive diets, which actually don't frigging work, which is which is why you're listening to this, which is why you're watching this, which is why you're here. It doesn't work. And I found out the hard way, but I just wanted to connect with you and let you know that I totally understand how scary it can feel to even have the possibility of gaining weight. But in my opinion, I fully believe true recovery from food and body issues, from disordered eating, is being okay with potential weight gain. I'll say that again, a little bit shorter. True recovery from disordered eating is being okay with potential weight gain. If you do the inner work necessary to get over your fear of weight gain, then you will be living in complete, infinite food and body freedom. And let me tell you, there is no better feeling. No better feeling. There is way too much to go into here right now around this and weight gain and mindset and fear and all of these things. But that's why you need to work with me and get on my group program, or message me about working one-to-one together. But for now, I'm going to leave you with this. Notice that I've said potential weight gain, not actual weight gain. Just because you give up dieting and practice eating intuitively does not mean you'll gain weight. I'm going to say that again for those in the back. Notice I've said potential weight gain, not actual weight gain. Just because you give up dieting and eat intuitively does not mean you'll gain weight. Once we let go of the fear of potential weight gain and stop trying to force our bodies to look a certain way, something magical happens. Honestly, I kid you not. Everything just falls into place. It's weird. It's magic. It's amazing. Because whatever you resist persists. And the women that I work with, they respond differently to this work. So if they are regularly binge eating, like most weeks, I mean, for me, it became most days towards the end. But if you're regularly binge eating most weeks, women tend to lose weight. And again, it's not about this, but I know that this is a big fear of women that are thinking and feeling before they start this step, which is why I want to share this with you, because I think it will really help you. If you're regularly binging and you come to me, you will most likely lose weight. If the women are actively and consistently restricting when they come to me, they will sometimes gain much needed weight. If they are on the diet binge cycle, they tend to stay the same or lose a little bit of weight. But honestly, I promise you, it's really not about what their bodies do in response to this work. It's about what life they create for themselves when doing this work. It's the joy, the self-acceptance, and the self-love. It's the food freedom and the pure liberation that comes from no food rules. It's the satisfying, self-loving, self-care feeling of nourishing themselves physically and emotionally. And it's the health and well-being that comes from all of that. There's so much more to it than that. And I have done recently an episode a couple of weeks ago. So just have a look, flick back. It's not long. It's not far away. That doesn't make sense because that's in the future. It's not that long ago. That's what I'm trying to say. I wrote an article about how to deal with weight gain. So definitely read that, listen to that, watch that. And then there's also one linked in my bio that helps you get started with your body image work, because there's a lot of body image work that goes on around all of this to create that inner shift so you can honestly fully live in true liberated food and body freedom. And like I said before, I can't even describe in words how amazing it feels. And once you get over the fear of weight gain, it doesn't mean you're going to gain weight, but then something fucking magical happens and then everything falls into place. So if you would like help with this, I have a few spots left for one-to-one coaching. I honestly don't take on many women at all because you become my person to serve. I'm all yours, basically. Or if that's not an option for you, I offer group coaching, which is a small group at the moment. And I'm always in the group. You get monthly coaching from me for life, guys, queens, you amazing women. This is for life. So when you invest with me, whether it's one-to-one or in a group environment, there's no getting rid of me, basically. I am always here for you on a coaching call with all of my wisdom, knowledge, all of the 4-month program that I keep building out and making bigger and putting all my knowledge into that. You get that forever. So let me know if you want any more info about that. And again, I asked last time at the start of the last episode, but please like, subscribe, rate and review this podcast or YouTube, because it means the world to me for a start. And it also, more importantly, helps other women that need me find me in this vast world of YouTube and podcasts and all the things. So it would mean the world to me if you just took a few moments to do that. All right. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love each and every one of you so much, and I will see you next week. Mwah.